Okay, so picking up right where we left off at the end of the last video, we said that in this video we are going to look at how to make the enemy spawn. This is actually really simple because we already have all the tools to make that happen. We've looked at the IEnumerator coroutine, which will execute commands based on time, and then we've looked at instantiate, which will instantiate an object. So it's really just combining the two. So let's go ahead and make one of the enemy units. We're going to take our soldier melee image, and we're going to make this very similar to the player soldier. So we need to add a component, physics 2D box collider, that way it can detect collisions. We want it to be a trigger. Add component, physics 2D, rigid body 2D, get rid of gravity. And we need to flip him. So in sprite renderer flip, we choose X, and now he's flipped. Now we just need to position him to where we want him to be instantiated, spawned. And now we need to add a script. So right click, create C#, and we will call this enemy melee. We click on our soldier, and we can call this enemy soldier. So enemy soldier, enemy melee, and now we could take that soldier, drag and drop into the asset area, creating a prefab. We can delete the one from the scene, and now we can open up that script. So at the moment, all we're going to do is put in the velocity. We're going to save all the collision detection for the next video, because to make this collision detection work out right, we also need the player collision detection to change, because right now the 3 units all have one place that they stop. We now need them to stop based on if they're colliding with an enemy unit. So let's get rid of the remarks. And we're going to put get component, rigid body 2D, velocity equals new vector 2. And this time it's going to be a negative x and 0 y. And again, the number you put in there for the x, completely arbitrary. It is game balance. Maybe you want the enemy to travel slightly slower than the player. Maybe you want them to travel faster, but they have less health. Whatever. So that gives velocity to our enemy. So what will happen is when he spawns here, he'll travel in a negative direction. Or should I say, negative direction along the x-axis. So let's go back to our scripts. And now what we're going to do, with the GameFlow script, this is what's going to handle the spawning. So, public, transform, and we're doing this again because we need the GM object to be aware of the soldier. So, player transform, and we'll just call this enemy1 and then obj, because as we said, we're trying to create some kind of naming convention. So when this pops up in a prefill list, we'll know that it's an object. So let's go back here, and we go back to our GM object, and there's that. We will take our enemy soldier, put it there. So now the GM object is aware of the enemy soldier. So what we need, as I said, another IEnumerator coroutine. So IEnumerator spawn enemy. So yield, whoops. So yield, return, new, wait 4 seconds, And again, sorry for sounding like a broken record. Whatever number you want to put in here is your decision because this is game balance. How fast do you want the units to spawn? So that's the delay. Then the instantiate, and we said this is 3 arguments: what's being instantiated, where it's being instantiated, and the rotation when it's instantiated. So we want the enemy 1 object to be instantiated. We want to use the enemy 1 object's position, and we want it to use its own rotation. Then we want this coroutine to refer back to itself. So start coroutine, spawn enemy. Oops, sorry. There needs to be another set of parentheses in there. My apologies. So it's spawn enemy with parentheses. And now we take this. We come up here to the start section. Now both of these coroutines will be started as soon as the GM object is instantiated, which is when the game starts. Or should I say when the scene starts. So that actually should be enough to do it if I haven't forgotten anything. So every second, another soldier spawned. Like I said, you're not going to see collisions or anything. They're not going to attack. That has not been put into the game yet. Like I said, we're going to save that for the next video. The main reason because we have to uproot some of the coding that we did for the players. I'd rather do that all at once. So we'll put in the enemy collision detection as well as rewriting the player collision detection so it all coincides. Okay, so what else do we need? Well, let's make the archer now. And at this point, it's really just rinse and repeat. So the archer image, and again, we want physics 2D box collider because we need to detect collisions. It's a trigger. Add component, physics 2D, rigid body 2D, again, because we need to add velocity. We don't want gravity. We want to flip this. So in the sprite renderer component, flip X. He flips. We'll add script, create C# enemy archer. Take our archer and take enemy archer script. And now we can take the archer, turn him into a prefab, delete the one from the scene. And again, rinse and repeat. Get component, rigid body, 2D, velocity, and we'll say maybe -1. Again, game balance. So now that we have our new enemy unit, what we're going to do is we are going to make the GM object aware of that one. So just as you have enemy 1, you're going to have enemy 2. So we'll go back to game flow, and again, rinse and repeat. Public transform enemy to obj. We save that. I don't want to jump around too much, so we'll do the rest of the coding and then put the prefab onto that variable. So what we do now, we just modify this. So right now it says, wait a second, literally, and then spawn the soldier, and then just rinse and repeat. So how about we do this? We copy, we paste. Again, oh, wait a second. And then we have a new instantiate command and just replace the ones with 2s. So wait a second, spawn the enemy, enemy 1. Wait a second, spawn enemy 2, then repeat the coroutine. And so you'll keep going back and forth. And so you could just keep adding more and more and more complexity to this. And then eventually you'd get to an inflection point where you'd want to then cycle back. So you can either choreograph this very precisely because this will do exactly the same thing every time, or if you want, we can look at how to use a random number generator to decide what gets spawned. Or you could do a combination of both, that maybe the first couple soldiers, the first couple units are always the same, and then it becomes random. Okay, so let's make sure we save that. We GM object, there's enemy object 2, there's our enemy archer. Now we run this. So there's the soldier, there's the archer. Soldier, archer. So just by adding 2 more lines, we added that much more complexity. And then again, rinse and repeat. It's the same thing with the catapult. So if you want, I can do this really quickly. We'll put the catapult in the scene. Add component, physics 2D, box collider, trigger, flip the image, add component, physics 2D, rigid body, gravity scale, 0. Right click, create, C#, and we'll call this enemy cat. So enemy cat, and now we have our prefab. So you drag the object from the scene into the asset area, delete the original up here, open the new script, give it velocity, rigid body 2D, velocity, again, negative direction, save, and we go to game flow, and it's just lining this up, doing this all over again. So public transform, enemy 3 OBJ, and then let's take these 2, copy, paste. So it's await and instantiate, await and instantiate, wait and instantiate. And now these are just 3s. So you're just matching this to the variable that you just added, that new object that you added. And save. You go to GM. There's new enemy object. And catapult. I think that should do it. Whoops, sorry. I was rushing, I made a mistake. So I didn't line this up where the other ones are. So let's put this back into the scene. Line it up. That's what happens when you rush. And then let's put it in here. prefab variant. We'll get rid of Catapult 1. And now we get rid of the one from the scene. We go to the GM, and we'll put the new Catapult there. So it's easy enough to fix. And so that's about it. So you can just make this highly choreographed as far as exactly what unit comes out at exactly what time. You can do that. Like I said, you can use a random number generator. I don't think I'm going to go too far in that direction because at that point, again, that's game balance. You have to decide how you want the game to play. So you can also do things that are more complicated, like you can track how many units are on the player side and then have the spawn be based on that. So if enemy soldiers equals 3, then maybe, if player soldiers equals 3, then maybe you want a certain unit that does AoE damage, whatever. So that, and that's iterative as far as how to make the, I don't want to call it AI, but the enemy player, how to make it more intelligent, and that is how to make it respond. So rather than just being choreographed, it actually responds to what you're doing. So I think that's about it for this video. Like I said, I'm going to do the collision in the next video because I want to change the player collisions as well at the same time to make those work out right. So I think that's it for this video. I hope this has been helpful. If there are any requests you want, please just leave it in the comments. And then that should do it. And please enjoy the rest of your day.